Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Peanuts, we are joined by Sleeping Warrior, Stopping Traffic in my Rasta Hat, Peach, P Mars, Jose, Eric, Earth Flattener, Arwin, and Apollo. Good to have you all.
What it is?
Hola.
Good afternoon.
Yo. Arwen said he's going to be good.
Excellent. Well, we've got a full panel, so we're going to try and rattle our way through housekeeping. So, any signs of curvature?
Nope.
Nope.
On a hill, maybe.
Earth-based. Always Earth-based. All of these questions will be Earth-based. Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
The Earth, I mean, a hill is Earth, right?
Yeah, the whole of Earth. Spherical
Whole of
Earth.
Earth.
Bullshit ball Earth.
No.
Rotation. Zilch.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
I fell off my bike and I hurt my arm pretty bad.
No, that's just because you're too dense, Pete.
It's because I wasn't believing in gravity, but then I hurt my arm, so I think it's your fault, Riley.
Yeah, he's right though. You're more dense than the medium that you were travelling through. A no then? Should we move on? Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No evidence of that whatsoever. If they expect us to show them the ice wall, then they've got to show us the core.
Say no.
What about the presupposition itself? Any evidence of R?
Nope.
Yeah.
Anybody?
Nope.
For anybody?
Sticks.
Sticks and shadows, that's definitely not...
Obstruction in optics, they call it curvature, but it's just obstruction because of atmospheric condition and optical effects.
There's no R, Nathan.
Fair enough. Any evidence of gas pressure without a container? Don't all answer at once.
Nope.
What you define as a container?
Nope.
No. Right, last but not least, any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Well,
There is no distance.
there is a claim that there was a radar thing that went to some planet up there that is so far away, but no evidence was presented. But they think they've answered the question. No evidence. The answer to your question is no. There is no evidence for the distance to the sun.
I'd like to know what it
Only
is.
a virtual distance to the sun.
I'm with you, Rasta. I'd like to know what it is first.
Yeah. Forget the distance.
Yeah, what the hell is it?
I guess a gas ball resulting from gravity.
Yeah, right. Well, that concludes the housekeeping anyway. So before the show started, you guys, I could hear from the kitchen while I was making a cup of coffee.
Bill Miller.
Bill Miller.
Yeah.
No, definitely no evidence of Bill Miller. I could hear you talking about artificial intelligence. So how does that relate to Flat Earth? How did you get onto that subject?
Relates to
I check out a website called Singularity Hub. It's very Ray Kurzweil, transhumanist, AI, the AI emerging God, all that crap.
The people lying about the flat Earth and telling us it's a sphere are also pushing transhumanism.
Mm-hmm.
That is true.
So, in broad terms, what's transhumanism?
Ooh, that's a good question.
It
Well, it's
starts in dehumanization.
It's humans merging with AI.
Humans merging with technology. So even just like having a cell phone on you is sort of transhumanist. It's like the early stages of it, but eventually it's going to lead to microchips in your brain and all that. So
it was evolved from
it's because they're creating a new man, and the old man's going away, and the new man is going to be like merged with technology, and he's going to be a perfected slave.
So I've got one of those Casio keyboard-like watches with a calculator. Does that make me a transhumanist?
Well, you can argue that, getting a heart transplant or that even a pair of traditional eyeglasses is, where's the line? That's debatable. So I think it's the mindset that, we're going to live forever and we're going to be superhuman and become gods. I think it's more of that overarching.
So a good old prosthetic leg is not considered that, but maybe a prosthetic leg that is attached to the tendons and the muscles and the real bones, that's considered transhumanism.
Like I said,
transhumanism is adding functions. That's what it really is. And the ultimate pinnacle of the philosophy is to basically digitize yourself in the big AI computer and become part of it.
It's not necessarily a bad thing. The problem is we have these like bloodthirsty dictators who are in control of technology, and they're going to use it to enslave humankind. Well, you got these fucking skeptic people that think that the technocrats are just making all this technology to help them.
Right. Well, then you got the plebs that are really into this stuff. They tend to be ballers. They tend to be, hardcore atheists, and they view humanity as worthless pieces of shitting, pissing, bleeding, menstruating garbage. So they have a transhumanist has a massive disdain for the human condition in the natural state. So that's the border, I would say.
So bottom line, don't send your blood or DNA to anybody.
Bottom line, you'll never see a physically attractive transhumanist.
Yeah, it's totally crazy.
There's a very good documentary called Technocalypse. It's hard to find, but I suggest it. It's a Belgian guy made it.
I disagree.
Can you say it again?
These websites that encourage you to send like your DNA and learn your family genealogy. I've seen Jed Skeptic Media did this, was encouraging people to do it. It's totally insane because if you look at the history of the dictators, they're obsessed with eugenics. So giving them your information like that is not a wise idea.
Dude, there's no telling what type of satanic rituals they're doing with your blood.
Well, most of the genome stuff, it's saliva from my blood. I don't think any of them require blood.
Oh, is it a swab of the mouth?
Yeah.
When you're born in America, they take your blood, and when you go, if you get arrested, they also take your blood.
I've been in the military, blood, who knows? You're almost. And then what? Then you got the what do you call them? The Mormons. They've been collecting. They have a genetic library that they.
Dude, there's no telling what they put in your body, man. If you've been in the military.
Oh yeah, you line up for the shots, and it's just like walking a gauntlet, like boom, boom, boom.
I've heard stories.
I walked the gauntlet myself. I know exactly what you're talking about, and not everybody made it through.
Yeah,
I've heard stories of people getting like over 10 shots a day.
No, it's over 45 shots if you're.
Oh my God, that's insane.
What the hell are you talking about?
There's no telling what they're putting in you.
What are you?
I will say that I do have a high immune system since in my adult life, though. I don't know.
Agreed.
It's just the overballast of it all is just severe, no matter what your constitution is.
Yeah, because when I do get sick now, about once every 4 years, I almost die.
The transhumanist thing we started saying about that Elon Musk might be thrown under the bus. I predict that SpaceX is going to break. They're going to come out and say he broke something. Like he broke some spatial mechanics. Now we can't go anymore. Who said that? Yeah, we can't go anymore.
He broke the warp drive. It doesn't work anymore. Need Scotty on the case. Let's get rid of Elon.
Yeah, he somehow fractured the quantum mechanics of the universe, and now our drives won't work anymore. Bad Elon Musk, you idiot.
So I think the bottom line with transhumanism is that AI is too dumb to do anything. So I think they're just going to try to enhance humans like the $1 Million Man, because AI is just not getting anywhere. It's not what they think, what they make us think it is.
I agree with that. Arwin tends to disagree. I think it's hyped.
Yeah, well.
You think it's like Gronkowski from the Patriots with his bionic arm?
Well, I could foresee in a decade or so from now, like saying that, oh, this AI there's an AI, it's based over in Kazakhstan. The U.S. needs to go attack that country to take out the AI because, nation states, people really don't want to go to war over that anymore. Terrorism is kind of, I don't know how much more legs that has. So yeah, we'll go to war over AI.
Yeah, and it's just propaganda. Like Sophia is the first naturalized citizen of Saudi Arabia or something like that. It's just all propaganda. They're just trying to scare us into.
They gave her rights before they gave all the other women rights.
Yeah, well, whatever moves you.
They only gave Sophia the rights because she's not a real female.
They pushed They push the transhumanism stuff in the entertainment industry where like a lot of times they'll depict robots as being more like human and then humans as being more really robotic.
What I want to know is why don't they make Sophia wear a beekeeper suit?
Yeah. P. Mars, why don't you tell us what are they going to do next, man?
Well, there's a reason for that. Abrahamic religions. Sophia doesn't bleed. I mean, that's why the traditional cultures put women down. It's the menstruation thing. So, a synthetic woman doesn't bleed.
P. Mars, let me ask you this. Is QAnon a LARP to distract from flat Earth?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Absolutely, Q is a LARP.
I really
QAnon is just an extension of Trump, which is just a game show, and they're just trying to keep you entertained. So they say QAnon's going to do a bunch of stuff. He's getting us there. Just be patient. He'll get us there. But at the end of the day, it's just like the TV. You're going to turn it off, and it's not going to make any difference in your life.
Well, everything's always in the future. Just like we're going to go to Mars. Everything is always in the future. It's never right now. We can't have any of the good stuff right now. Just pay your taxes, be quiet, go to the shopping mall.
I'll send $5 in Bitcoin to anybody who can tell me how many times that they first discovered how to grow hydroponic lettuce on the space station. $5 in Bitcoin.
I seen a meme that said Eric Snowden and Mark Zuckerberg were cousins and they were related to David Rockefeller, which would make sense because like a lot even Bertrand Russell talked about this in his book where he said a lot of these these rulers are inbred and that they formed almost a different species between rulers and ruled because these families have gotten together and held onto their wealth by inbreeding for all these years that they consider themselves a better type of human than us. They're a more evolved human. That's why they push evolution on us too.
They say that Sophia, look at her. But if you look at Zuckerberg, I got to say that I have a hard time believing that there's not more commonality there. Like, I watched Zuckerberg drink the water. I got to say, I don't think he actually drank the water. I think he just kind of put it up to his android face there. Because, if they can make Sophia, I mean, Zuckerberg doesn't even look as good as Sophia. So honestly, I think there's a high probability that guy is not even like a 34-year-old guy, as they say that he is. They say he's a 34-year-old man. He looks like a really, really crappy version of Sophia.
Are you really speculating that Mark Zuckerberg's an android?
I didn't used to, but honestly, in the last couple of months, I have been leaning that direction.
I saw a picture the other day of Mark Zuckerberg as a wax version of him. And then the joke was like the wax Mark Zuckerberg looks more human than the real Mark Zuckerberg.
Which adds credence to me saying that he's not actually human, that he's just a really like crappy little Sophia.
They probably didn't capture his suppressed fear.
He does look like a robot.
Thank you, P.
Okay, Chris, we've got your Cavendish experiment on screen. It's been running for the last couple of minutes. I don't know if you want to tell us a bit about it. It's your second time around.
Yeah, sure. So I posted the first one and it got some feedback from the ballers, of course. Sly saying that my first of all, my string was too thick. I used about a 1/4 inch piece of rope, and even though it was moving and oscillating, they still claimed it was too thick. And then the second thing was my oranges weren't massive or dense enough. So I thought, all right, I'll go get some more precise or better equipment, I guess. So I went to Home Depot last night, and I bought, as my torsion bar, I used a bubble level, because I thought, well, you know, I want to make sure this thing is flat or whatever, is level. And so the bubble level, and at the very beginning of this video, I show the bubble level as level as I can get it in this setup, right? It's almost perfectly level. And then of course on the ends, you see I taped 2 very heavy 4 pounds each. They're ball hitches. You basically put those on the back of pickup trucks. So I've got that's 1.8 kilogram ball hitch on the end of the torsion bar, and the kettlebells are 25 pounds or 11 kilograms. So much heavier than what Sly used. He used bowling balls, and I don't know a lot about bowling balls, but I do know, if you've ever gone bowling, the biggest bowling ball I've ever seen is 15 pound. Maybe there's a 16 pound, I don't know, 17 pound at the max, right? Otherwise you're gonna rip your arm off. So I'm using 25 pound kettlebells, and not only that, these kettlebells are solid cast iron. They're not hollow. It looks small, but if you pick that thing up, I mean, it's gonna pull you down. It's very heavy. If you've ever used a kettlebell before, so I feel that these materials are vastly superior to what I used, and even superior to what someone like Sly used. So all I can say is, and I'll just go to the video, and I put a conclusion in there. Conclusion: there was no phenomena observed apart from some minor bar swaying due to moving around the apparatus, minor airflow, and possibly some static. There was no attraction due to mass. Controls, a couple things I did. I tried to add some static by rubbing the kettlebells on my hair, on both of them. And at some point in the video, I show that, but there was no change. And then on the very end, the last 30 or 40 seconds, I blew on one of the ends of the bar to demonstrate how easy the bar could be moved. So I got no results at all. I don't know what else to do other than what I've already done. I believe, to me, this is the second one I've done. The first one had similar results, virtually no to little movement. Same thing here. You will see the bar move a little bit, and again, that to me, it's just simply just from airflow. It's me moving around the thing. I'm moving the kettlebells around, etc. So, but there's no attraction. I mean, the bar is not swaying towards. In fact, here, if you're watching, it's moving away from the bell and the kettlebell, and that's after I move the kettlebell even closer. And that fishing line is super thin. In fact, you can barely see it. It's almost invisible, at least looking through the camera. So I'm happy with this one. I'm really, they're gonna come back and complain, but I'm done. This is good enough for me.
Wow, really well done.
Yeah. Kudos.
So basically, we can notch that one up as another failed Cavendish experiment, right?
That's my opinion.
Against you, I mean against Cavendish, because when you try and do the Cavendish experiment, it does not do what they tell us it does, which has been what we've said from day one.
I mean, the video, in my opinion, speaks for itself.
So on the Cavendish experiment, it doesn't require you to give it movement at first, right?
No, you're not allowed to do that.
Okay.
No, that's the pendulum.
Right. Okay.
So here I'm showing the sort of the setup. I still have it on the ladder, but you can see you really can't even see the string. It's that thin. Maybe, oh, there you can see it a little bit. but it's very thin. It's a 12-pound fishing line, much thinner than the quarter-inch rope that I used the first time.
When did you did this experiment, aka circus show?
So I got the materials last night. It was about $30 worth of materials. The level was about, I don't know, 8, and then the two metal ends were about 10 each, plus tax was about $30. So I got the materials last night. I set it up last night, and I let it sit for about 2 hours, and I wasn't happy because it was still moving some. So I let it sit overnight, and I woke up this morning about 6:30 Central Standard Time, where I'm at in Texas, and I did it.
Well done.
Okay, because I've heard, I think it was Sly or some other people, you know, when they talk about the Cavendish experiment, they say, oh, no flat earther had ever dared to do the Cavendish experiment. So yeah, I think you'll be, I don't know if all the ones, because I haven't looked for it, but then now we can say, yeah, somebody did it. And if somebody else want to do it, you know, welcome, yeah.
Yeah, so
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, right at this moment, it looks like this is where I'm rubbing the the kettlebells on my hair. I'm actually trying to affect, you know, call it an independent variable. I'm trying to cause a movement, and even after rubbing these massive kettlebells on my hair, it didn't make a difference whatsoever. So if there was any static electricity, the iron cast kettlebell and the metal, whatever kind of metal the ends are, the chrome ends, it didn't affect it at all.
I was just going to say, you know, I think this is why, you know, they ask the ballers to show today's science of movement, you know, and I think this is great because we're eliminating all the excuses that they throw at us, and it's like, okay, well, we've already done that. It doesn't work. What can we do with today's science?
I mean, it's not really science. It's a mechanical setup.
Well,
but if they invoke it as science, you know, so then we gotta replicate it, you know, to shut them up.
I just said science to make it more rounded, and basically that's why, you know, I always hear Anthony and Nathan always saying to Simon Dan, how can we prove it with today's science? You know, how can we prove the distance of the sun? Not going back thousands of years with 2 sticks. I guess that was all I meant.
I just find it interesting that nobody thinks it's embarrassing when we ask them, you know, for their citations, that they make references to things that are so old and, well, I don't know, cavemanic. I mean, if somebody was asking me how I can prove something, and I literally said 2 sticks in the ground and a shadow, I mean, I would expect either no response or literally just a nullification of my response, because that's just asinine. I mean, seriously.
It's presuppositional.
No, I mean, it's just asinine. I mean, 2 stick in ground, I hit on head, go boom. I mean, it's like really like just came out of a cave status.
You mean primitive?
Right. Like just came out of a cave level primitive.
A familiar conversation.
Sounds like you just don't understand it.
No, I understand it, and I think it should be embarrassing to anybody who clings to it.
Well, at least that's because they haven't manned up enough to admit that they're just operating on another faith-based system yet again. And, you know, we can laugh at all the desert religion people. Oh, I'm so much better than these dumb people.
They're trusting on physical literalism of the globe of the heavens.
I was going to make a direct comparison to a dehydrated desert religion.
Yeah.
It's seems easier to fool a person than to get a person to admit that they've been fooled.
So I'm about to blow on the end here, and you can see the little paper moving, and then there it goes. And you can see me moving away. And after I blow on it, now watch it. It's still going.
Holy shit!
There's a lot better Cavendish experiments though that show it works.
Right. All from ballers.
So are you saying
because flat
desert
earthers have a
religion?
monetary incentive to keep the narrative going that
What, and ballers don't have that incentive, Pete?
Oh my God! Talking about
Hold on,
monetary.
hold
Who
on.
gets $52 million a day?
Hold
For
on.
God's sakes, let's
Can I
not
just,
even go
before
there.
you all get triggered, can I just address that? Sorry, Pete. The Cavendish experiment is not an experiment. It's a circus parlor trick. There is no scientific hypothesis.
There's no observed phenomena.
Not controlled. So it's not
In the
science.
modern times, they have done it so many times with different materials. This is a version of it that can be added to the pile, and it contradicts other interpretations. You know.
But what I'm saying is, though, Pete, regardless of the validity that you give anybody who performs this parlor trick, it's still a parlor trick.
So by saying desert religion people, are you saying that they are primitive?
No, I'm saying that when in a time before mass entertainment and before mass clean water and things like that, in a time of, scarcity and things like that, when you're talking about a large mass of people who are both a combination of starving and massively dehydrated, and then add in multiple other conditions that they were facing, they become very mentally malleable.
Now, you don't know what was happening then. You don't know if they were starving. They could have been perfectly conditioned for that time. You would consider it starving because you're used to eating M&Ms and just chilling.
You might want to check yourself, buddy, because you don't have any idea what I've been eating.
Well, I could just check both of us and know that we were not alive at that time to be able to say how they were.
Wow.
Wow, that's it?
What's the issue here? So, because he's used the term cave dwellers, as in the same vein that somebody would say, well, those guys are archaic flat earthers. Is that what you're saying?
He doesn't want to acknowledge that people in the desert basically 2,000 years ago were massively dehydrated and malnourished.
How do you know that?
Well, you were saying earlier that they were like, ooh, sticks on the ground, as if they were cavemen. So you were trying to portray them as dumb.
No, I was comparing the people who came up with 2 sticks in the ground. That was a separate reference than the religious reference. Those are 2 separate things.
I think we're definitely indoctrinated to think that people in the past are just stupid and antiquated, and everything modern is the best and latest and greatest, and it's just not true.
Oh, sure, but 2 sticks in the ground, give me a freaking break.
Well, I mean, you can see how the sun lights the underside of a.
I love it.
Cloud.
I love it. There was a small pause, and then we go into defending it. I love it. So you think 2 sticks in the ground is technological advancement, do you, P?
I think you can do an experiment with shadows to determine, whatever they determined.
Really? No, you can't, because you can't formulate a hypothesis, because the thing that they're measuring is not an independent variable. They can't manipulate it.
I guess we have to agree to disagree.
No, I'm just right. It's not an experiment. There's no formulated scientific hypothesis for what they do. They can't manipulate the independent variable. It's not an experiment. It never will be.
I'm still trying to figure out how did he get 500 miles?
I mean, I don't think you're the authority of what a scientific experiment is, and if I need help on grocerying, I would ask you.
Thanks.
There is no scientific authority.
How did the 2 viewers communicate with each other in live time when they were doing the 2 sticks in the ground test? Can you tell me that?
You don't know what was happening at that time. You don't know how they were communicating.
That's what I'm asking right now. That's what I'm asking. I'm saying, how were they communicating with each other in live time in 2 separate locations to conduct that test?
They use satellites.
That's just all.
They use satellites. They had cell phones.
They just brought up that story to fill in gaps. That's all.
Why is that guy rumpusing the hangout?
I mean, he had literally just earlier pointed out or postulated that technologically it might have been more advanced. So it stands to reason that they had better cell phones. They had 6G back then.
Right. Well, who knows what they had back then?
Back the technology before
right,
it was
who
better
knows?
than now because we were able to go to the moon in the 60s and now we can't. It means the whole analog technology was better than now, right?
Absolutely,
exactly.
chocolate. Absolutely.
Before the Great Flood,
Jose.
there was a high
I was
technology.
referencing to
Asia.
both the pinnacle of the Renaissance, the pre-mud flood age, and the prior Grand Age, the Atlantean Age, when the pyramids and everything were built. So, yeah, of course, they had huge amounts of technological advances. From
Says
other
who?
The
perspectives.
pyramids and things don't seem to have been around nearly as long as people claim to.
Absolutely.
Why?
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Really? So
Why
how?
are
Yeah,
our
where's your proof
leaders?
of
That's
that?
completely not true. They're about 10 times older than what people think they are.
Oh, is that what it is?
Our leaders are obsessed with our ancient artifacts and relics of the past because I think they're aware that past civilizations had higher technology than our current one.
Hey, Riley, I think it's the Sphinx that's 10,000 years older, not the pyramids.
No, the Sphinx is the youngest. That's the newest thing. That's not the oldest.
No,
Yeah, and
that
they
has
worked on
the most damage, like, and weathering to it was the Sphinx. I believe that I believe that you got that opposite. I think that they say that the Sphinx was the oldest of those structures.
No, that depends on
was
which.
mutilated.
No, they say the Sphinx is the oldest. That's
Thank
what
you.
they say.
This
Depends on
Thank
which
you.
narrative
is-
you accept. If you accept the official one, which is that we've only been on this planet for about 8,000 years, mankind, then the Sphinx is the oldest. But if you look at it from a different perspective, the Sphinx is actually the newest, and it's of lesser technology. They didn't make that the way they made the pyramids. That was done at a different time period by different
The
civilizations.
Sphinx was mutilated.
Yeah, it's been
It used to
destroyed.
be a dog-like creature, and then they cut off its face and basically
I don't think
carved
so.
a human face on it.
I don't think so. I think the Sphinx
do.
was an African American, so they just took off its nose so you couldn't be able to
Oh
see
my
that.
gosh!
Wow. Well, we can't
Wow.
prove any of that.
Anyways, the Sphinx lays like a
No, we
dog.
can't.
It doesn't lay like a feline. It has the body structure of Canis, not of.
Exactly.
Of-
It
of-
Well,
was
isn't that because they were like
dog
really into
god,
cats?
remember?
The only
Because
thing
we're
we know
told they were
is
really into
when we found the
cats.
Sphinx, it was buried under a load of sand. It wasn't
Dogs
built on.
and cats.
Pardon?
The ancient Egyptians were fascinated with dogs and cats. What I knew, like one of their gods was a dog. That's why you see that figure come back a lot. Their
Exactly.
artwork.
Sorry.
His name again wasn't it Anubis?
So what about
Anubis.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I think it was.
Anubis?
I think it was Fido.
Yeah, it was Anubis.
Fido Ra.
So he's a specific icon. They worship. They probably held it in high regard, just like the Indians do now with cows. They held in high regard cats and dogs.
I wonder if they were flat earthers.
It all depends on which class they were. If they were the ruling class, then they either knew or didn't care, and there was just the slave class. It was an empire, so yeah.
That's assuming we know the
Or
timeline of any of this
didn't
stuff.
have time to think about that kind of stuff.
Making a huge load of assumptions. But there we go.
Yeah, but this logically structured. And to achieve that level of creation, it requires a unified mindset or an imperial control. Otherwise, it's going to just take forever, break down, all that crap. So yeah, empires are the only things in history that have been able to create huge things.
Who believes the Earth is older than the 6,000 to 8,000 year, call it young Earth?
I do.
Who believes the Earth is what? What did you say?
They're younger or older.
I have no idea.
Just want to know what
I
the
think
question
the
was.
Earth has always been.
Incredible.
Sorry, what's the question?
Yeah, just based on this discussion, who believes the Earth is older than the, call it 6,000 to 8,000 year estimate that young Earth creationists or whatever give it.
Yeah, of course it is. Go look at the town of or the city of Göbekli Tepe. That's been valued at least 12,000 years old.
By who?
Not just
By
that,
who?
but just think about how
Archaeology.
fast time
Hold
feels
on.
like
I can't
it
let that
accelerates
slide.
as you get
Hold
older.
on. Sorry.
You know that the Earth has been around substantially longer than that because look at how fast time actually goes.
Hold on,
the
I can't let
scale
that
of
slide,
things.
Anthony. What do you mean it's dated at 12,000 years? Where have you got that dating from?
Well, the official story of mankind is supposed to be between 6,000 and 8,000 years, and there's an argument over whether it's 6 or 8, and it's an academic argument, right? It's moot. But when they found the city of Göbekli Tepe, all of the archaeology people that discovered it have said that it's at least 12,000 years old, and that's not me.
That. But based on what?
I reckon it's to do with the rocks. I don't know what the authority for it is, but
so based on the rocks, because where do they get the age of the rocks from?
I'll find out how they. I'll go back to
I know
it.
how they do. I'm just asking if you
It's
know.
all part of their plan, right?
Give me 5 minutes.
I know how
and
they
I'll
do
come back
it,
to you with the
Anthony.
answer.
That's why I'm asking you. So
I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go find the answer. Give me 5 minutes.
Must be
okay,
carbon
fair
dating, right? Ooh, such a reliable method.
Your gate was only half open. Can you say that again, please?
Me? I was saying it's probably going to come as a result of carbon dating, I imagine, how they get these 12,000.
You can't carbon date rocks.
You can't carbon date rocks because if you carbon date a rock today, it'll have the same carbon dating as another rock, basically, that could have been carbon dated, some other time ago.
But there are rocks with radioactive elements that can be actually traced how old they are through radioactive plumes, like polonium.
Yeah, they can take the radioactive half-life. Let's see some references for that then.
That is actually rather reliable.
Let's see some citations then, Arwind.
Oh, let's see. There's a video about it. What's the name again?
So is there any evidence of any long-term birth defects that have come out of the places where there's been basically alleged nuclear action, for example, after Hiroshima and Nagasaki or and then after Chernobyl and whatnot? Because according to just nuclear half-life, essentially they should have been looking at 5,000 to 10,000 years according to their science of essentially ongoing birth defects.
So for Chernobyl, can only be 5 years ago. One of the last things I was watching when I still had TV was Top Gear driving through Chernobyl in in 3 domestic cars with very limited fuel, so they might be in a position where they break down. And you're like, surely this is supposed to be off limits for 10,000 years or something absolutely ludicrous. And there's Top Gear driving through, straight past it. Like, come on.
Yeah, now it's a nature preserve, and I guess that they also allow controlled, licensed hunting and whatnot in that area.
Oh, yeah.
So one thing I have issue with now is, they say science or scientists say that modern man, Homo sapiens, have been around for, and again, an estimate of 100 to 150,000 years. So
but
everyone
how long has the greater sapien been alive, though?
So everyone on this panel and everyone on the Earth, people like us have been around for 100. Let's just take the conservative estimate of 100,000 years. Is there 100,000 years of evidence to support that claim?
No, because they always wipe out history. They always burn museums, libraries, do everything. It's continual resets over and over again.
Yep.
How you getting on, Anthony? I've got you shared. Thanks for the super chats, by the way. Much obliged.
Just think about how much human civilization has done in the last 6 to 8 to 10,000 years, or whatever the number is, right? It's an estimate, I think. Versus, so they're basically saying for 100,000 years, almost nothing to nothing happened, and then the last 6,000 or 8,000 years, everything happened.
I mean, the history repeats itself, right?
Yep, and we keep forgetting, so we're doomed to repeat it over and over again.
I mean, yeah.
It's Shirley Bassey, not to be confused with celibacy, which is something totally different.
Who's Sally Bassey?
Wait,
Shirley
you broke
Bassey.
up, Nathan. What did you say?
History repeating, Shirley Bassey, not to be confused with celibacy, which is something totally different.
Right.
History repeats itself basically because techniques that worked in the past to get society to a certain point will still work today. So if the elite want to take society a certain place, they just reintroduce the techniques from the past that got society there, and happens again.
Yes.
Can you give us
Hey,
an
P,
example?
what do you think about D-Wave?
Sorry, but just before we go into D-Wave computers, can you give me an example, P?
I mean, I think they're doing similar things today in America that they did in the past to bring down the Roman Empire, like the currency is being devalued and their empire is trying to bring immigrants in to because they can't afford all the tax. Like it needs more taxes, so they're bringing immigrants in now.
But D-Wave, P, D-Wave. Let's talk about D-Wave for a minute. Like they're not smuggling immigrants.
Oh, a lot of technical issues for the mobile phone users. He'll be back.
They don't want him talking about D-Wave, dude.
D-Wave's not controversial. D-Wave's super mainstream, I would say.
Hey, Apollo, how you doing?
Just sleeping in.
You still live on a ball,
Good.
Apollo?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm not sure.
Hey, back to the history and hidden history and resetting. Max Egan has been doing some good work lately. I don't know if you're familiar with Max Egan. That we had a common language. There was a base human language. Something about the reset. Good stuff as of late, I must say.
Thracian.
Esperanto.
No. I forget what it was called. What's the?
Do you mean Thracian?
No, it's
language.
No, basically, I think it was a Hungarian guy immigrated to Australia, and he found that there was a connection between the Aboriginal language and European, and that's what colonialism was about. That's what the genocides were about, was wiping out this base human language. Not to mention that native populations did not have the concept of private property that us Europeans do.
Yeah, I was hoping that P would give an example like I've heard it postulated before that things like the London Underground, I don't know if anybody's ever seen the London Underground, but it's a tube network, that it's actually it was the original sort of pressure tube system wherein they've just tore out that advanced technology and replaced it with old-fashioned rails. So that was kind of the example I'm hoping. I'm not giving any validity to that. I'm just saying that's something somebody's postulated that I was hoping P would give us a sort of example that was technology-based, where they've reset us and then reintroduced older technology, mixed it in with the new. So you end up with rails in underground tubes.
Yeah. Well, if you look at all this wonderful high tech we have, you look at automobiles, there's no money. If you sell a BMW or a Mercedes or a Ford, there's no money in that. It's all the parts and services and planned obsolescence, and they're engineering things to break down because that's where the money is. That's where the job creation lies. So it's a total mess. I wouldn't doubt it. Sounds perfectly in line with the business model we have.
Well, hey, Nathan, I thought you were asking P about history repeating itself, as in methods that they've used before seem to work, so they just keep using them because society keeps falling for them.
Absolutely, but I'm saying part and parcel of that would be a technology reset that would go along with it.
All right. Yeah. Well, for me, it would be like Pearl Harbor. That was a catalyst to go into war with Japan and the axis of evil, whatever. And then a recent version of that would be 9/11, where they use that as a catalyst to say there was weapons of mass destruction, in Iraq and all that stuff. And they just keep doing that, the same thing over and over again, and we fall for it.
You mean false
and
flags?
What did they say?
False
What's
flags.
The quote? Barring another Pearl Harbor-like event, the American public will not blah, 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 get in line and all that. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's in the project for the New American Century. Yeah.
False flags is what you're talking about.
Right.
So it's kind of scary to think of like the things that happened in the past that can happen again. Like I could see concentration camps coming back and people rounding up people, you know, and murdering a specific group of people.
Absolutely, yeah.
What specific group would that be, P?
White males.
Great subject.
Flat Earthers, AP.
Yeah, conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to
It won't
round
be
them all
skin
up.
color this time around. It'll be mindset for sure.
They are coming for us. The infamous they.
Yeah, and I was talking to somebody the other day about television and how it programs us. And the example I was given was when you watch something like a Disney show, you see Freemason kind of symbology and that kind of thing. But I think television is meant to comfort you and to put you in this hypnotic state, right? And they say that people go into this hypnotic state within 30 seconds to 3 minutes. And so I think most television can be harmless for the most part, but it leads you up to these false flag events and it conditions you over years and years. So when they do hit you with a false flag, you don't realize it because you're already in this hypnotic state.
Are any of you guys familiar with the invasion of Panama?
No.
Hello? Yeah, the invasion of Panama, they used that very technique where basically they did beach landings with helicopters and whatnot over and over again, basically without announcement, kind of freaking out the population there. But when everybody would come out and stuff, they would have food and clothes and all sorts of like goodies and whatnot. And they did it over and over again. So eventually the people weren't scared anymore and they would just come right out because they knew, all right, they're bringing stuff for us, right? And so when they finally decided, all right, we're going to invade them, the people, they had them conditioned to come right out expecting something good, but instead they flipped the script and actually, like in the same manner that they were delivering goods, launched their invasion.
Oh yeah,
That's horrible, man.
I can attest to that because aside from getting Noriega, soon after that was done, basically my next job was to go to round up people and dissenters, people that, academics and whatnot. So that was a huge aspect of it. The people that weren't tricked to come out, we had to go get them.
Right, but I just appreciate you validating what I said about them employing that same technique. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Duty, they're never free.
That's the reason I got out of the military, was my involvement in that.
What we need to realize is that we have a bunch of buttons on us, and the ones that are in control of us know how to push those buttons. So regardless of anything you see, there's a narrative, and they know psychologically how we work, what's going to piss us off, what's going to make us happy. And we just have to realize how easy we are. We're not as smart as we think. And going back to the desert religion, you think they're dumb, but they're saying is that we in the Western world live by the watch and they live by the calendar. So when they're planning things, they're doing it over the course of hundreds of years. And seeing how they've managed to keep their religion and everything intact, so it seems, because to us they look like really old, archaic or whatever, but we've changed so much. So we are the ones that actually keep starting over and have to relearn everything, to where they are still seemingly 1400 years old in their evolution. So we cannot see them as dumb. We're the ones that are still in our infancy. And that's why they are conquering us. That's why they're taking over the world. That's why, like a virus, they are taking over quietly, and we don't even realize. We're like, look at their women. They like put them in clothes. We can't even see them. That's pathetic. But no, we're the ones that are pathetic.
Wait a minute. Are you referring specific, when you say desert, I mean, that's, to me, that means Abrahamic, Judeo. I guess you're talking specifically about Islam?
Yeah, Islam, for sure. Absolutely. I think they are the perfect religion. It's very scary what they're doing and how they're doing it. And they're coming at us in every angle, and we don't even realize it. And we need to. That's all.
It is realized. It's just how many people are listening.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
It is real indeed.
I just hope somebody brings the spirit back up in this panel, because y'all got me down as
Yeah.
What you guys are discussing is Freudian and Bernaysian manipulation, understanding how people tick and then manipulating that. And that's mostly done through your TV screen. It's mostly done through Facebook. It's mostly done through your interaction with these digital technologies.
But let's talk about how it was done
education
over 200 years ago and more.
A piece, absolutely right. I will add to this piece. So, and education, absolutely. Education's probably the biggest one. They indoctrinate you early.
And what they don't catch you with education, they'll catch you with religion. If they don't catch you with religion, they'll catch you with some other form, but they will catch most of us most of the time.
Scientism.
Of course. Think about this whole modern, I'm an atheist scientism. I mean, they knew, they said, it would, the traditional religions were starting to wear thin. So then they offered another one. Okay, so you come from a Catholic family or a traditional Christian family. You found an aversion to that. Like, here, be an atheist. Here's your science. So they got something to sell you every single time.
I think it's kind of crazy to think of if we lived in a society that wasn't so backwards and upside down. Like, what if television was used for good? Think about, like, it could really educate people, make them, stimulate their brains so they're critically thinking, or it could uplift their morals and values. And it's done just the opposite of that. It's like made people ignorant.
That has been done.
Well, I think you just made a mistake calling it to educate. I think what if we had media that actually objectively gave information and let people come to their own conclusions instead of force feeding it, educating them.
Because people will never choose to get in the cage when they have all the information.
And plus, I think these mediums wouldn't exist, television and various internet platforms, and the education itself, the education system itself wouldn't exist if it wasn't useful to the people who have built those systems to begin with. So if it was just for good, it wouldn't have developed in the way that industry has made it develop and advertising has made it develop. So it's kind of, you don't have one without the other. So you can't say, well, what if they were there to push good? Well, no, they're not. They're there to push agendas, propaganda, and products. That's its point.
Control.
Well, I mean, a logical person would be able to think, okay, what does the average human being actually need to be a quote-unquote adult in this world? You need linguistics and some basic maths, and then figure out what you're good at and like. So how many years would that actually take? 8?
Well, the mathematics side, you tend to find that even the most poorly educated person, if they've ever got to deal with money, they know how maths works.
Mm-hmm. No, but really, I mean, how long should it take to create an adult with the actual skills needed to live in the world? I throw about 6 to 8 years. Let's be it, 8 years.
Yeah, for the sake of
they have this 13 years in the school system.
It depends on when you start teaching them. If you start teaching them from a child, then it's going to take years. But if you get them at the age of, say, 15 and teach them the basic life skills, you could do it in weeks or months at the most. But you wouldn't have to do it from childbirth.
If you wait till that long, it'll lag. You can actually cram all that information into a child's head by the age of 8. And that's why you see in other cultures, siblings raising other siblings. You'll see, children at the age of 6, 7, 8 years old caring for their younger siblings, able to cook meals and things like that.
They've destroyed that, though. Oh, what? You mean, older children helping to educate the younger ones? No, can't have that. We gotta separate them by age, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and have an authority figure standing up there with a flag and a globe behind them. And there you have it. I mean, you go to the and it wasn't always that way. You can
No, you asked how it could be done, not how it is done. You asked how it could be done, how long it should take, or how long it could take to instill those skills. And previous cultures have proven that it only takes a few years and you can implement that knowledge onto the youth, but it's only been learned out of culture.
We've had a fascinating off flat earth topic subject discussion on this show. I'm actually going to have a third show, so I've just put a little teaser into the chat to say that we're going to have a 10-minute break shortly, But Anthony has worked extremely hard with a couple of other people to give us the ability to start pointing fingers in a much more stern way from some of the ball heads. And normally we only attack them on their flat earth prowess or their globe prowess or whatever. In this instance, it's a credibility issue, but I do want to cover it at least in... we haven't actually really got anything to present at this stage, or we have, but we're not going to. But I do want to discuss it. So, like I say, we're going to round out in maybe 5 or 10 minutes time. So just so you're aware.
Nathan, forgive us, man. Just sometimes when
not
like-minded
nothing to be forgiven.
get together.
Nothing to be forgiven. You're all good. Everything. It's been a fascinating conversation. You know, the fact that it's not 100% flat Earth is irrelevant. These things are all connected. You know, there was a few segues from flat Earth into what we've discussed. I'm delighted. So no, definitely.
It's all flat Earth because it's all about the indoctrination process.
Precisely. One is if we discuss how transhumanism connects with indoctrination, the same applies. You could remove transhumanism and insert globe Earth easily. Yeah, fascinating subject. I even titled the show AI, you know, because I thought this is a good topic. I liked it. I was listening from the kitchen, like I said at the beginning of the show, and I was just like, wow, I'll title the show this. This is good.
I know that anytime you see the little spinning half circles or anything like that, that's mind control. I know that.
The spinning half circles, what, like the whirly whirl on an apple?
The spinning half circles, yeah. Anytime you see the globe, be very, very skeptical.
I don't follow you. So you say the spinning half circles, and immediately what comes to my mind is when you get a loading page on an Apple iMac or a iPad, you know, you get the whirly whirl, but then you went straight to globe. Now I obviously get both of them are circular, but can you expand on what you mean?
Well, I mean, you're in a different country than I am. So over here, our mainstream media, in the background, there's constantly spinning half circles or spinning globe.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, like when.
So, like, if Fox News starts, it's like breaking news, and there will be something circular spinning. I've seen a documentary on YouTube about that.
There's something with spinning half circles that hypnotizes your mind.
One more shout out to Neil deGrasse's last appearance on Joe Rogan recently, with a whole lot more, you know, ball touting and, you know, things like that. Anybody catch that most recent appearance by Neil deGrasse?
I don't even watch TV.
I did see part of it.
Fill us in, and then we'll round out for this break.
I couldn't sit through it. I just wanted to know if anybody else managed to actually sit through it to actually see what was going on.
Well, it was like 3 hours, and you know, a lot of different subject matters. Flat Earth only got, you know, a few minutes, and then it was waved away. So nothing really to talk about. I think nothing really special or something.
Well, it comes to something when even a Globe supporter finds Neil deGrasse Tyson tedious.
No, I think he's a cool guy.
I cannot listen to that guy. His face just bugs me.
Is it wait? Is it me or just does he look like a human version of a globe toy? I mean, just his whole persona is just a spinning ball. Is that part of the whole thing?
Yeah,
you mean he's an oblate spheroid?
I mean, he does. He's just round. The way he speaks, and it's just like this spinning ball guy. Perfect spokesman.
He's an actor. He's very good at what he does.
Spokesman, jokesman.
Yeah.
Cool. Anyway,
so you were talking about the circular hypnotism, and another thing I realized about like the news networks is that they always use orchestration, which made me think of Crow 777, who said that he listens to basically just old music like Mozart because it's at a certain frequency, and people say that classical music makes you smarter or whatever. So I wonder if they use classical instruments on the news to make you think, oh, this is going to make me smarter.
Well, in the 50s, the international standards went from a 432 hertz to 440, which is the standard. And look how sound wave, those waves resonate like with sand experiments. It's more geometrically symmetrical with 432 as opposed to 440.
And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible, and of course a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated the show, then you know exactly what to do. But if you liked it, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!